Hey there, everybody. I'm going to talk about marketing and the problem you solve today. If you think the problem you solve is really the problem that you're solving for your ideal customers, you might be in for a surprise today because I'm going to dive into the emotional side of marketing. And no, we're not going to get emotional in this video, but we are going to dive into the emotional triggers and share some examples that we can all relate to in one way or another. So welcome to the marketing stream. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Vicki O'Neill, your Plateau to Grow marketer. I work with small businesses and small business owners, small business leaders, marketing leaders, sales leaders, and help them take their business if it's plateaued and find new ways to help them grow. So if that's you, you're in the right place. I hope you get some value out of today's video, and just want to say thank you so much for being here. If you're joining me live, thank you for being here live. Feel free to chat with each other in the live chat. If you've got a question, type question in all caps so I can see it. My aging eyes are getting more difficult to see things in the chat. So that'll just make it easy to identify so I can make sure I answer any questions that you have. If you are here watching the replay, thank you so much for watching it. Don't forget to hit like. And if you're new to my channel, hit subscribe and the bell notification so you'll be notified when I go live every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as when I upload new videos every Thursday, all on marketing topics, marketing related topics, anything to do with marketing. So thank you again for being here. Going to say hello to Diana, thank you so much for you being here today, a huge supporter of me and this channel and just me in general and the work that I do. So I appreciate you being here. I know that Roy with Net Friending with April Roga and Roy Montero, he was here earlier and left a message and said he will come back for the replay because he's excited about this topic as well. So that is good news to hear. And again, if you have any questions, leave them in the live chat. If you're watching the replay, leave them in the comments and I will respond as soon as I see it. So as I mentioned in the intro, a lot of business owners or a lot of people responsible for marketing a particular brand, whether you're focused on just marketing or you're a business owner and you're focused on many different things, like we all are, there is a huge difference between marketing your brand and showing here's what we do versus here's how we solve your problem. And when you go into the problem that you solve, you're really tapping into the emotional side of what your ideal customers are going through at that moment when they're typing frantically, if it's an emergency situation, or if they are just needing to learn some additional information about how they can do something. And a lot of times what we tap into is just that need of, hey, here's what we do. Like I have marketing services. I consult with businesses. I coach businesses. I can develop different metrics and help them set up different tools. And that is what I do, but that's not the problem that I solve. The problem I solve is the anxiety and frustration and time deprivation that my ideal customers are experiencing because they just either don't know how, or they don't have the time, or they've tried different marketing tactics and they just haven't worked. An outside perspective a lot of time is very much welcome because a fresh perspective is always going to bring something to your attention that maybe you hadn't thought of before. So it's the saying of, I got this messed up before too, seeing outside, looking at the jar from outside the label. If you're in the jar, I know I got that wrong. So I need to get that straight next time. I think that's the second time I messed it up on a live. But I'm going to review a spreadsheet and kind of go through some examples of what I'm talking about so that we can all kind of relate to the concepts. I think it's easier to focus on like actually what we do and instead of the problems that we solve. So I'm going to share my screen, and this spreadsheet that I'm reviewing with you, I will share a link to this at the end. So if you're here and you're like, I'm not sure if I can watch this right now, there will be a link shared. If you're here live, I will share it in the chat. And then I will also put it in the comments in the description so that if you're watching the replay, you can access that as well. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and go ahead and go into this. So I've used this before in podcasts, and I think I've used it here on the live show as well in reviewing. I use a plumber as a good business type just because it's something that we can all relate to. A plumber typically is not going to be my ideal customer, but it's something that in one respect or another, we can all relate to. At some point, we've either called a plumber, we know somebody who's called a plumber, or has needed a plumber, right? So that's what we're going to review today. Hey, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, no worries. No need to apologize. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. So what I'm doing is going through the differences between the problem you think you solve and the problem that you really solve, and going into this from a plumber perspective, and how marketing obviously plays a role in this as well. So I've already got these typed out, so I don't think we're going to go through and do all of this, but I changed the font color to white so you couldn't see them all when we first got here. So I'm actually going to put myself on here partially. I don't like looking at the just the screen. So the problem you think you need solved, and these may look familiar. Actually, I'm going to maximize it so you guys can see it more. Sorry about that. You guys won't be able to see me, but that's okay. It's more important that you see this. I'm actually going to, I know that I'd had some people had mentioned before too that they couldn't see the information that I was sharing. So I'm going to maximize it so you guys can make sure that you see it. So these might look familiar, right? You're not getting enough website traffic. You're getting traffic, but no one's buying. There's too much competition. People always want a discount. You need more exposure. That's a lot of what I focus on, is helping brands, B2B companies, actually increase their visibility with their target customers. So these are the things that you think you need to have solved, right? So if they're looking for marketing assistance, if plumbers are looking for marketing assistance, these may be the things that, we think that they're looking for, right? That they want more website traffic, or that, people who contact them always want a discount, or they just want more exposure. And how we can help them with marketing is a little bit different. So how we can solve the problem, or what the problem is that we're actually solving, is these problems. And these might look familiar too, because these are all things that are associated with a plumber, right? So as a homeowner, it could be that we've got a leaky faucet. We're thinking about building on a room addition, and it's going to include a bathroom, or it is a bathroom. And when you build a new bathroom, of course, you need to include a plumber in that planning process. You have a broken pipe, replace old pipes. So these are all things that a plumber is going to focus on, right? These are the things that they do. These are the problems that they solve. Now, when it comes to marketing, I'm going to switch this over a little bit real quick. Keep going to the wrong screen. When it comes to marketing, it's important to not only know what the problems are to help this plumber with their marketing strategy, but we need to understand what is the emotional state of those individuals when they have any one of these items. And the reason being, and I'll go into this as well, is that we need to tie the marketing efforts to the emotion of the end user that's tied to the problem that you're trying to solve, which then is going to help the problem you think you need solved. So it's a reverse engineered way of backing into what you do. I know that seems a little crazy, but it'll ultimately get to, if your biggest problem is that you're not getting enough website traffic, it could be because your marketing message isn't clear, or you're not putting it in the right place, or it's not being seen by your ideal customers. So when you look at these different things, and of course, knowing who your ideal customer is and where they're spending time is a key component of this entire equation. But it's important to also understand that there are emotions tied to each one of these, even in B2B businesses. So if you're a commercial printer, so you print business cards and brochures and banners and different things that businesses actually need, there's going to be different levels of emotion in that as well. You would think initially like, oh, okay, you plan, right? You plan on different things. and you send it to them, they print it, and it's this, easy to flow process. When in reality, if you've ever been in a position where you've been responsible for creating a booth for an event that your company is going to, I have, so I know this from firsthand experience, is that there are things that you don't realize that you need until you're actually at the event, or before you leave and you want to have the cost less than it would be when you actually get there. Like, crap, I didn't think about, I needed to have these brochures printed out. So there's things that'll actually come up too, and it's understanding your ideal customer, what their needs are, and how you can tap into that, right? So every business is going to have different levels of emotions tied to what they do. And it's not always going to be something like with a plumber where you have a leaky faucet or you've got a broken pipe. Now, those are like, I need help yesterday before it broke type emergencies, right? But that doesn't always happen. So understanding what the emergencies are, what the higher priority items are in your ideal customer's minds, that's really where you need to tap into it. So, okay, I'm going to go back to the screen now so you guys can see it. So when you go into the problem that they solve, these are the things that you actually do, right? So you fix a leaky faucet, you plan on a new bathroom, etc. Now, the emotion of the end user associated with these is really what's important here. So a leaky faucet, somebody's going to be worried. What damage is this going to cause to my bathroom or my kitchen? If you're putting in a new bathroom or a new addition onto your house, you're really excited about that. Renovating a kitchen, that could actually be exhausting because you're thinking, I cook dinner for my family every night. We use the refrigerator in the morning for grabbing snacks before going to school. Now all that's going to be disrupted. So there's some exhaustion of how am I going to fix those problems in my house while my kitchen's being renovated. So there's different emotions associated with each one of these, right? And you can see these: relieved, anxiety, nervous, uncertain, sometimes just nonchalant. You're adding a second floor washing machine to your house because that's where you spend most of your time and all your laundry is upstairs. So why not add a second laundry room, essentially? So really there's no emotion tied to that, but just understanding that it's not an emergency and it's not something that may, be something that they get excited about, but it's just important to know. Then we need to look at the emotional triggers. And this is where it comes into the marketing side of this. This is where it's important to, and I've got the emotional triggers here, which you can see right here. I'm going to get ready to go through. But then I'm also going to go into like a marketing headlines that you can consider. And again, this is for a plumber because that's the example that I'm using here. But it'll give you ideas of things that you can start thinking about in your business and looking at what are the emotional triggers that I need to consider. And then what type of marketing messages and headlines and content do I need to focus on in order to really tap into those to get their attention and start nurturing that process from awareness to buy and then retention, right? Because I talk about that 6-step process in the customer journey. This helps with identifying those different steps along the way. So it's important to know this, but then understanding what those steps are too. And again, it goes back to understanding who your ideal customer is. Of course, in every video, I'm going to mention that, right? Of course. So, all right, I'll go back to this so you guys can see the full screen. Okay, so the emotional triggers for these individuals are, let's get these out there. So worried might be, an emotional trigger for that might be instant gratification. I'm going to actually undo these two as I go through each one because it'll make more sense that way. So if they're worried, I'm going to have so you guys can see this. Let me see if I can get them all in here. There we go. So you got a leaky faucet, they're worried. The emotional trigger is instant gratification. Call us so you can stop worrying today. That could be the headline in a paid ad that you took out on Facebook, right? Or Instagram. New bathroom, they're excited. Maybe you want to do like a competitive emotional trigger and you're thinking competitive pricing? No, competitive in their mind. They're going to be the envy of the neighbors, right? So they're adding a new bathroom. They're adding a new addition onto their house and nobody else has in their neighborhood. So now it's kind of created this competitiveness in them to, they're going to be the envy of the neighbors. And that sounds pretty cool. If you're renovating your kitchen, you're exhausting, but you can look at an emotional trigger of trend setting, and that's be like your favorite celebrities. Maybe you've seen in a magazine that the stars in Hollywood are doing this certain type of kitchen remodel in certain colors and certain countertops and setups. And you're like, that's pretty cool. I'm going to do that. Even though I'm going to be exhausted, I'm still going to look at it as the end result is going to be something that is going to mirror the people I like or follow in Hollywood, right? So broken pipe, panic, an emotional trigger would be calm. A potential marketing message would be, let our 25 years of experience get this done for you. So you've got a broken pipe and you're panicking because you're like, I don't want this to continue to create more problems or bigger problems than it already has. So you need to focus on calming them, right? So by calming them with the number of years of experience, along with we get broken pipes fixed, then you're combining those two with easing the anxiety or panic with your overall experience. So that gives somebody some confidence in your authority and your experience and helping others as well. If we go to, you've got a water softener install, you're feeling relieved because maybe you have, your family is sensitive to dry skin. And by installing a water softener, that's going to help with the dry skin issue. So now all of a sudden you're relieved. And there's a time trigger associated with that. Get it installed in half the time. Awesome. My family is going to feel better sooner because I can get it installed in half the time. So does that make sense? Let me know in the comments if you're watching this live. Let me know in the comments if this is making sense or if it's still leaving some gaps in what you were thinking this was going to be. While you're doing that, I'm going to say hi to Consult a Blind Guy. Hey, thank you so much for being here. Morning, Andrew. Great information, Diana. Thank you so much. Dual streaming you and Pat. I figured you would be, Andrew. That's cool. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Yana's here. Hey, thanks for being here, Yana. Oh, good. I'm glad that these are great, Diana. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, thank you so much, Andrew, for the reminder. Hit the like button if you are here live. If you're watching the replay, do that so that it helps the algorithm for future live shows as well as for the uploads that I do on Thursdays. Okay, good. I'm glad this is helpful. So if we go on to the next example, and again, like I mentioned, this spreadsheet is going to be available to you once I'm done. I'll share the link for it. And then you can use this too if you want these as like constant reminders for future needs, things that you might be working on in your marketing messages. This will work for you too, at least give you ideas. So if you have to replace old pipes, there's a lot of anxiety there because you're thinking, holy crap, I've got a ton of pipes. It's a very old house. And somebody just came out and said that they all need to be replaced for whatever reason. It could be because they're outdated and they're no longer supported, which could lead to bigger problems. But it's creating a ton of anxiety for people who need to do that. So the best thing that you can do in your marketing is to instill trust. And why would you want to do that? So that you can get rid of the anxiety and they'll choose you. So no gimmicks or hidden costs. That would be something that you could definitely consider, right, for relieving anxiety, because that could be something like, I need to get them all done. If they're going to come out, give me an estimate, and there's no gimmicks or hidden costs, that might be something that really resonates with me right now. And of course, they're probably going to get more than just your estimate. They're going to get more than likely 2 or 3 other ones, but that'll help in the overall picture. And of course, you'll add on to this too, and that will be your only message, but you'll want to leverage some of those marketing messages to the emotional triggers that are going to alleviate the emotion that they're experiencing at that point for that particular situation. Can you guys see how I'm like backing into that? I know it sounds crazy, but it really does get to that level, and it resonates more And if you think about examples that you've experienced in your life, whether it's looking for a plumber or if it's looking for any type of situation where you've gone on Google or your search engine and you've typed in different keywords. Even if it was on YouTube, you're looking for a particular video, a how-to on how to install a flat screen TV on a wall. It could be anything. So looking at that in different experiences, if somebody's TV fell off the wall, they had installed it and now it's fallen off the wall, they can't fix it now or they don't want to try because it failed the first time, right? So if there's a wall exposed, you've got your 2x4s exposed, that could be an emergency for them if it's in the living room where everybody spends time and they're getting ready to have people over. So there, no matter what business you're in, there's different levels of emotions for your target audience. And when you're creating your marketing strategies and your messaging, it's up to you as the business owner or as the person responsible for your marketing to understand what those emotional triggers are. And I will review some questions at the end so quickly because I'm getting into the 25-minute mark for the video. I like to keep them around 30, 35 minutes if it's just me. So I'll go into those too, but and that'll just help you uncover the problems that you actually solve. So not what you sell, not what you do, but the problems that you actually solve. So there'll be questions here too. Hopefully that'll be of value to you guys as well. All right, back to full screen. And we'll go through these real quick. So waterline repair, you're nervous. The emotional trigger might be value. And these all can be cross-referenced with each other. So like, nervous and anxiety might be very similar emotions. So you don't have to you won't find a better deal anywhere else. It could be no gimmicks or hidden costs, or, you can cross-reference these. These are just examples of how you can use them with the different emotions of the end user and the emotional triggers. So if there's a leak detection, but you don't know for sure, so there's uncertainty, the emotional trigger could be perception. And the marketing message could be something along the lines of, so how we've helped others in your area with see how we've helped others in your area with detecting leaks. So that would be your customer testimonials, your Google reviews, your Facebook reviews, wherever you have reviews, could even be on your website. And share that information in your marketing messaging so that you can help, with the perception of being uncertain. I know that sounds a little crazy, but you're gaining clarity with them and helping them not be uncertain. You're helping them be more certain. And then again, like the one with nonchalant second floor washing machine install, this could be more aligned, along the lines of a leadership type message, which is be the first of your friends and neighbors to have a second floor laundry room. You could be in whether you're in an older neighborhood or a newer neighborhood, it could just be that you are doing something new that, people have talked about. Oh, I wish I had a laundry room on the second floor. And you're like, you know what, we're going to go ahead and take that step. And we're going to actually make a second story laundry room. And now all of a sudden you become the first in your, in your neighborhood and also with your friends to actually do that. You could also be competitive and be the envy of your neighbors, right? So you can see how that would cross-reference with the other ones. Okay, so how you would actually discover their problems. Here are a list of questions that you can ask. Who are you selling to? And again, I've mentioned it a few times now. Know who your ideal customer is. Some of these questions will actually help you identify that person. So, hello, hi, Arab Tourism Egyptian Pharaoh. Thank you so much for being here. Greetings to you from the Arab Tourism Channel. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you stopping by. My fiance would actually love that you're here. He went to Egypt last year and he wants to go again. So he absolutely loved the country. Yana, don't worry, Vicki. Everything with your marketing classes is excellent. I bet that many small business owners will profit only by listening to your live streamings, not to mention to have you for them. Aw, thanks so much, Yana. You are so kind. I love that you're here. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate all of you being here. Okay, so how to discover their problems. Who are you selling to? How do they gather information to solve their problems? So are they listening to a podcast? Are they doing a Google search? Knowing how they get information for your particular problem that you solve is where you need to be. What are some things that are important to them? Is it time? Is it leadership? Look at some of the emotional triggers that might be important to your ideal customers. And maybe it's just instant gratification and leadership. If those are the two, then focus on those two triggers in your marketing message so that you're more likely to attract more of them initially and then help them nurture that entire process. What are some things that are important? Do you know what the biggest unmet need is in your marketplace? And this would be doing it could be a SWOT analysis. So you're doing your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So your strengths and weaknesses are internal to your organization. Opportunities and threats are external. They're essentially both strengths and weaknesses. You're just looking at them inside your organization versus outside your organization. And when you do that outside of your organization, you can start identifying gaps in the marketplace for things that might not be met. Here's an example. Here's a story too, a story and an example. And it's not a plumber as much as it's an HVAC or an air conditioning contractor. And this was actually my experience here recently. My fiance had replaced the air conditioning unit in our house. And in doing so, he went through, got some different quotes and picked one, and they did a super fantastic job. And the air conditioning in the house is much better. The other day I was thinking, because our bedroom's on the second floor, the first floor, of course, is the coolest. And I like sleeping in a cold room. And I'm like, why can't we get the cold air to be more in the bedroom? Like, especially at night when we're sleeping. And I said, I wonder if there's something out in the marketplace where there's like, you can control like on your unit where you're controlling the temperature and, whether it's heat or air conditioning or whatever. It would be really cool if there was something that they could add on to that or something separate that you could, and it's not the vents, because if you close the vents, the air is still trying to get up into the vents and then just kind of stops. And I mean, it might help a little bit with the airflow, but the airflow needs to be trapped at a lower level, right? Closer to where the air is actually being pushed out. So I'm like, why don't they come up with like little flaps or something that you can put inside the vent or the air vents that can close it, closer to the source so that more of the cold air then can be filtered up to the rooms that you want them to. And I couldn't find anything. So, and I'm kind of like doing some research. I'm like, that would be really cool. So if that's something that's not out there, if somebody's interested in doing that, have at it. But to me, it was just like, that would be an unmet need, because I bet there would be a lot of people. There's probably a lot of people out there like me. If they have a 2-story home and their bedroom's on the second floor, it's probably going to be a lot warmer than it is if it's on the first floor. I don't know if a lot of people are like me either, where I just prefer to be cold than hot. So that would be something that maybe that's an unmet need in the marketplace for the HVAC and, the air conditioning and heating people. Not sure, but it's something to think about. But as a plumber, as a marketing strategist, or as an online course creator, it's important to understand what those unmet needs are. And having conversations with your ideal customers, you can start to understand what those unmet needs are. What's the biggest pain point your ideal customers experience? Of course, that helps in understanding how you're going to solve that problem. Why is the problem so hard for them to solve? Is it because they've tried so many different marketing coaches or marketing strategists before and they get the same old, or is it because there's just no solution out there for them, or they had a bad experience with somebody? So it's helpful to understand what that is too. What does success look like to them, so that you can help aim towards what that is in your marketing messaging? What might hold them back from buying a product or service? I should probably bring this back up for you guys instead of just reading it. What might hold them back from buying a product or service? Is it cost? Is it experience? Is it just not knowing how your solution would fit into their workflow? So understanding what would keep them from making a buying decision is something that is extremely helpful, because then you can, in your marketing messaging, you can help overcome that in helping them understand why they should buy from you. How do they come to a purchase decision? Is that something that it's a solo decision? Or is it something that they need to get other people involved in? So, and that's just part of sales 101, right? Is to understand who the decision makers are. So you can make sure that you get all of those people involved, or at least have that main person get all the people involved in making that final decision, so that you don't get down the process and here you thought you had a yes. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, Joe said that, he wants to make that decision and he doesn't have time right now. And then you have to back up to square one, or you lose the sale altogether. When you get all the stakeholders involved in the beginning of the process and understand what that purchase decision or that purchase process looks like on their end, that helps you better understand what to expect in those conversations. Maybe not necessarily put them in your marketing message unless it's like a direct purchase, like I'm going to go online, and you're not just going to go buy an air conditioning unit online. You're not going to pay for a plumber online before even talking with them or getting some type of estimate. But if it's a direct to consumer type purchase, then you are going to buy it, right? So understanding if it's a bigger purchase, what those decisions look like and what that process looks like is going to help you with your marketing message in order to get them to your page or your e-commerce site. So those are the questions, or the things that I had to share with you guys today. I've been kind of watching the chat and haven't seen any questions. Do you guys have any questions that you would like me to answer while I have you live? And again, if you're watching the replay, leave them in the comments and I will get back with you as soon as possible. Diana, love that you have so many stories. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully it's resonating with you guys. I hope so. I figure it is. I love you guys being here and appreciate you being here so very much. I think that was all that I was going to share. I know that I said I'm going to share that link, but I wanted to make sure you guys didn't have any questions before I went ahead and did that. I want to make sure that if I'm asking the question, that I am allowing enough time to answer it. All right, I don't see anything, so I'm going to go ahead and I've got this here. And again, I'm going to do this from now on whenever I have to do stuff. I'm going to just hide the change the font color, right? All right, so here it is. If you're in the chat, then you have it now. You can access this sheet. So if you want to go back and just kind of give you some refreshers on anything that may have resonated with you and said, oh, that might actually work with my target customers, then that would be something that might be helpful. Oh, thank you so much for being here, Monique. Awesome. I'm so glad that you were here. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. All right. Well, I don't see any questions. Thank you for Diana for mentioning no questions. Very informative. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here live again. Again, if you're watching the replay, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so that you know when I go live every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I upload new videos every Thursday. So if you aren't, if you haven't set the reminder for next week's video, you can go ahead and do that. It should pop up if you're subscribed and following me, then it should pop up in your main screen when you go to YouTube. So hopefully that's showing there. If it's not, it will be at some point, in the next day or so. Make sure you set reminders so it pops up next week when we review. I think what I'm going to focus on, I haven't finalized it yet because I'm refiguring out how I'm planning my content for the week. But I think it's going to be different ideas on generating leads. So if that's of interest, it'll be something along those lines. If that's of interest, then you'll definitely want to subscribe and then hit the set reminder when that is available. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for being here again. Diana, Andrew with Consult a Blind Guy, Monique, Yana, thank you so much. Arab Tourism Egyptian Pharaoh, if you're still here, thank you so much for being here. Michael, if you're still here, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, until next time, make today great.